Those in favor? Oh, second?
Okay,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
we are good.
Okay.
Okay, if you guys want to give a quick overview, that would be great.
Who are these people?
Jim.
Okay.
James is gonna.
Hey guys, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so Jim Altamonte is here, Michael Scott. So tonight on your agenda is 30 Locust Street earth removal permit. So this is a continued public hearing. As you may recall, last week the board opened the meeting and then continued to a date certain this evening in order to give time for the applicant to receive more time as the night was getting late. Jim, I don't know if you want to provide a brief presentation overview, or if the folks in attendance would like to provide a brief overview of the request this evening.
Jim or Michael?
Hi, this is Mike Scott from Land Design Collaborative. Jim just texted me that he is locked, his Wi-Fi or internet connection is acting up. So while we wait for him, because he has all the presentation information, I'll just say that give you a little background. You know, this project has been through, as Jim Kupfer can attest, this project has been through the planning board and the conservation commission, and both have issued the appropriate permits. We have also permitted or are in the process of finalizing the permit for cross-country sewer from this site to the gravity sewer in town. So the site plans that generated the, or the matter here at hand, specific to the reshaping, reconfiguration of Bungay Brook, resulted in the earthwork analysis. I believe that was prepared by Titan or their folks. And as I say, Jim Almonte, if he can get on screen with all the documents, I'm going to text him right now, can present to you. He was going to go through sort of the site itself, how we arrived at the layout. Looks like he's going to try to rejoin, and then ultimately, the calculations, and then we can give you the idea on haul routes and that aspect of the project as well. But just to be clear, we have been through the other two boards. I think that was probably discussed previously, but just want to let you know there's been about a year plus worth of permitting.
Right. So as Jim Altamonte is about to log on, it looks like re-log on, I did want to touch base real quickly on that. So this project has been before the planning board, as probably most of you guys know, for about a year or so in vetting the process. The applicant does have a stormwater management plan, a construction management plan, a draft SWIP, which really controls things like dust control, stormwater runoff, and any concerns regarding neighbors in the vicinity, and making sure to minimize impacts there. For an earth removal permit, since it's incidental to construction, however, it's above 2,500 cubic yards, this board would look at it in terms of the general character of the neighborhood surrounding the location, in terms of how it would impact, meaning truck trips leaving, to the protection of the water supply, meaning dust control management and any debris control, and general safety of the public on the public ways. So making sure that no, again, debris or dust is being littered along the public way, and making sure that they're going through it in a safe manner, meaning the really for Bellingham, the closest way out of town, whether that's 495 or heading west towards Blackstone. So I don't know if the applicant would like to touch on any of those items, but welcome to do so.
Do you know, and I don't know if we have to wait for, was it Michael? Oh,
Yeah, Mike Scott.
to Mike, but do you know which,
Mike. Jim.
Oh, Jim.
Jim's.
Oh.
I was gonna say, do you know which way most construction vehicles will be going? I
North,
imagine they're gonna be,
north off of out Locust towards
495.
Yes, towards 495.
Right. And you come off, go right towards the 495.
And that also, nothing to do with this issue, but for material deliveries, the same route from Pulaski into Locust, into the job. Yeah.
Should we, is it better to just kind of wait for Michael to kind of get on that? Because I guess I'm sure the rest of the board would want to know kind of the details of how long.
Yeah, and Mike has, here he is.
Okay.
Or no,
Yeah, Jim is rebooting his computer. He has all the presentation documents. So I'm gonna say I'd rather wait for Jim because I think he's got it all queued up, but he's having technical issues. That's why I turned off. I wanted to give him a call. But
Do you know, I guess, do you have a sense, do you know where could you let us know where the general earth removal will be taking place on the site? Or is that something that, again, we should just wait for the presentation?
Yeah, I don't know if he has it. I have a.
Because I see the stockpile locations where you have.
Right. Well, I have a diagram computer generator from the heavy highway software, which basically, if you're familiar with the site.
Is that like a topography then? Is that what that's showing or?
Yeah, this tells you the cuts and the fills. The cuts are in red, the fills are in green. Yeah, you can give it. See if you.
I'm sure you're more familiar with this one, but. The cuts are in red, okay.
Yeah, and so, and there's elevations that are on the plan that dictate that this is generated, the software generates this. So basically, it's the center of the job, or the job itself is based. That's why there's the export of the material, because for the most part, it's a cut job. There's some areas that are fill, but more cut than fill.
Do you know how much above the kind of threshold that you guys are looking to do? Or is that, again, you're not sure the exact numbers?
For the export.
Yeah, because I mean, I forget what the cubic, is it 25?
There's 2,500 cubic yards that they have to be here for. How many cubic yards do you anticipate that has to be removed?
It's 121,000.
123,467.
123,467.
Say that again, 120?
123,467.
Is that exact?
123,000.
I'm kidding.
123,467
Okay.
cubic yards.
And what does that break down in terms of trucks?
Well, we should wait for the proposal because we've done some division on that and we have,
I think he got in.
did he get in? Here he is.
Sorry about that.
Being late.
Oh, so it's James, sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. Yeah, every time I try to unmute and start the video, it just locked up on me. So I'm not sure what was going on there. But I apologize for that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Do you want to just walk us through it then?
Yeah, sure. I don't know what has been said so far, but you just give me a second. I'll call up the plans. And then if I could share my screen, that would be helpful. See how that goes. Let's see.
So there's kind of wetlands on the north and the south then. I mean, you're familiar with this location, right, Brian?
Yeah.
I can see that here's kind of the.
Most of the building is.
The wetlands doesn't look like they're going to be impacted at all, though, if I'm correct.
No, yeah.
All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, can everyone see that?
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I don't know if any introductions were done. I know there's some people in the room. I know Mike Scott is on the Zoom call as well. There's some folks from Titan there and from Elite Home Builders, I believe. Leo, Kim, Dave, and Mike.
Yes.
I'm sure all the introductions. Oh, Mike's not there. Okay. So this is the site. It's located at 30 Locust Street. It's identified as parcel 22 on map 33. To the north is Jenks Reservoir and some single-family residential homes. Same to the east, Locust Street is located here in the Rentham Town Line, which is right along Locust Street. To the south is the Bungay Brook, and then beyond that are some residential homes. And then to the west is Squire Lane and Reservoir Drive, again, another single-family residential neighborhood. So the property is about 57 acres in total. It was currently operational as a 9-hole golf course, Bungay Brook Golf Course. There is a clubhouse and about 130 parking spaces located near the entrance. There's also a single-family home located on the property here, a maintenance facility. This is the 9-hole golf course. There's a driving range to the north, and then an irrigation-lined pond located here. The site is accessed through its frontage on Locust Street. The property is zoned suburban with a small portion in the northwest corner zoned agricultural. It's in a water resource overlay district. And then there are bordering vegetated wetlands located to the north and south and a portion of the eastern boundary as well. There's a perennial stream to the south named Bungay Brook. And then along the northern and southern property lines, there's also areas of 100-year flood zones A and AE. There's no natural heritage on the property. And as we get into some of the details on the soils, they're basically all sand as far as you can dig. We did borings in April of 2021, and it showed a depth to sand of about 25 feet. And then we did deep test holes in January of this year. And again, indicated sand to about 12 to 15 feet, basically as deep as we could dig. There are 2 monitoring wells located on the western portion of the site. And those indicate depth to groundwater at about 26 to 28.5 feet. So the existing terrain of the property, it's basically what you would find in a typical golf course, a lot of rolling hills, man-made berms, things like that. Wastewater for the existing conditions, basically they're all on individual wastewater disposal systems, and potable water is from Locust Street. So the earth moving operations are basically associated with the construction of 108 townhomes, all 2-bedroom units located in 36 triplex buildings. Can everyone see this is basically the overall grading plan for the site? I'm assuming everyone can see that now.
Yes.
So access to the site will be basically in the same location as existing, which is located off of Locust Street here. We'll be removing a large portion of the impervious surface of the existing parking lot at the entrance here, kind of reconfiguring a parking lot for, I think it's about 21 spaces in here now. So a significant reduction in the amount of impervious surface at the entrance. And as you approach the site, we'll have a boulevard style entrance, 2 18-foot travel lanes with a 10-foot wide landscape median, and landscaping on either side of that. We're retaining the existing pond, so that'll create a welcoming approach to the site. And then as you enter into the site, the main driveway here will basically be 2 11-foot wide travel lanes with a 5-foot wide bicycle and walking lane. 12 of the buildings will be located off of 4 individual cul-de-sacs located here, 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 and here. So all in all, the main driveway is just over around 2,900 linear feet, and we have about 800 linear feet combined in the 4 cul-de-sacs. And then in the western portion of the site, we have a 20-foot wide, about a 700-foot long emergency vehicle access drive, which will be gated at both ends. Won't be utilized during construction or after the development is done. It's basically just for emergency vehicle access only. And that's only if you know, the main driveway entrance gets blocked off for whatever reason. So as part of the design, we've kind of made a conscious effort to focus the development interior to the site. We wanted to respect the wetland resource areas, the existing perimeter woodlands, and the abutters along the entire perimeter of the site. So the closest abutter, I believe, is in this location, and it's more than 300 feet away. As part of the town regulations, we're required to maintain a 100-foot buffer, so we're more than 3 times that with the development. And then just some of the amenities that we look to provide. We wanted to repurpose some of the existing golf cart paths, so we are going to repurpose those into walking trails, and then we'll supplement those in some areas to create a walking trail system of about 1.75 miles. And then centrally located to the interior of the site, we kind of created this little town common green area that'll connect into the trail system with these 4 spurs here. So as part of the permitting process with the town, we provided landscape plans that shows heavily landscape perimeter buffer areas. We worked with the town and the abutters during the permitting process and tried to satisfy them and buffer the site. So when all is said and done, about 80% of the site will remain green or basically landscaped open space. So some of the stormwater systems are located here, here, here. There's 2 located here, and then there's a smaller one located to the interior of the site. As part of the design, we tried to incorporate lid practices in the design of the stormwater systems. They're basically large, gentle, open, gently sloping basins that try to basically mimic the landforms of the existing golf course. I know the town requires a 4-to-1 maximum slope on the basins, and the only locations that we were even close to that were located here, and that was to try to maintain a maximum buffer from the wetlands. But you can see some of these other basins are just gentle, sloping, open landforms. So as part of the development, wastewater will be handled, well, it'll flow by gravity to a pump station located here, and then it'll be pumped up the emergency access drive, down Reservoir Road, through the St. Jean's Cemetery to the gravity system in Pine Acres. Municipal water will be provided in Locust Street as it functions today. And again, we tried to minimize the impacts to the resource areas. There are basically no structures within 100 feet of any of the resource areas. There's only minimal impacts to the buffer zones, and that's associated with some of the grading for the stormwater systems and for the reconfiguration of the parking lot at front, which we're actually moving further away from the property line. But that is within the 100-year buffer zone, or the 100-foot buffer zone. All work will be upgradient of the erosion and sediment control measures, which will consist of diversion swales, sediment basins, check dams, and anti-tracking pads, which will be located at the entrance here. Construction entrance will be located here. We included a site prep and demo plan, which shows erosion control measures, stockpile areas, and again, the construction entrance. And then the general notes and legend sheet, which is included as part of this set as well, has the erosion and sediment control notes as well as the construction sequencing. I think Jim may have mentioned that we received an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, and as part of that, one of those conditions, there is a third-party certified sediment and erosion control specialist who is required to submit weekly reports to the Conservation Commission. We've also prepared a SWIP for this, so those monitoring reports will have to be filed as part of that process as well. So as far as earth removal operations, let me see, I had a plan called up. Let me see if I get that quickly. Can everyone see this plan here?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a earthwork calc that I believe Titan had prepared that shows the different color coded areas. So green is basically balanced or at grade. Red is a cut situation, and blue is a fill situation. So what this plan shows is basically there's 123,467 cubic yards of export. And again, the red areas are the cut situations. So you can see most of the cut situations or basically all of the cut situations are associated with the building foundations, which are located here, and the stormwater basins located here, here, and here, and then the smaller one interior to the site. So if you look at the roadway system and all of the areas outside the basins and the foundations, it's more or less a balanced site. And if you look at the roadway profiles, it'll kind of indicate the same thing. Granted, there are cuts and fills and as you travel through the site, but we did try to balance the road system. And again, most of the cut situations are associated with the basins and the foundations. So if you do the math, 123,000 cubic yards in 20-yard dump trucks, it's about 6,173 truckloads. So, and Titan can kind of address this in a little bit more detail, but the plan for now is the hauling operations would basically take place between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. After the peak morning rush hour, and basically before the evening peak rush hour. So we're planning on 6 to 10 truckloads an hour over an 8-hour day. That works out to be between 100 and 130 days of hauling material. And now that's going to depend on the availability of trucks and a couple other things. But if you simply do the math, those are the numbers that we're looking at now. Final destination of the material hasn't really been finalized yet. It'll most likely end up going to more than one location, but most, if not all, of the trucks or the trips will probably go north on Locust Street out to Pulaski, and then east on Pulaski out to 495, which is about a 4-mile trip or so. So again, just to kind of summarize quickly, and I know Jim may have touched on this, but we did receive an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission. We did receive a stormwater permit, a development plan approval, and a special permit from the planning board. And as part of that process, which was several months and thoroughly reviewed by the peer review consultant for the town, we did get those approvals. So with that, I will open it up to any questions and kick it back to the board. If there's anything that Titan or folks from Elite want to add? I missed anything?
I think you've summed it up fairly well. The export route, we plan to have that delineated with construction barrels and signs, trucks entering, trucks leaving. Also, we'll have tracking pads in place so no debris is hauled out on the road. At the end of each workday, or as we near the end of each workday, we'll have a sweeper available in the case that we need to sweep the road. We'll also have water truck available if we need to do dust control. And so we're mindful of the speed limit and the abutters, and so therefore the trucks will abide by the roadway laws as far as speed goes, and there'll be no loud jake braking or anything like that. We have a pretty good group of trucks we use a lot, and they're pretty conscientious. Any questions for me? Or?
Is there like a sequence? Is it getting staged, kind of the earthwork? Because then I guess one of the other questions I had was, so you're going on to Locust Street for the removal. There's a lot of cut on the west side of the site. Is that still going to be, all that removal is going to be taken out through all the,
Locust, yes,
it'll all
everything
be
with the
through
egress will
Locust.
be to Locust, in
Okay.
and out. Nothing will go out any other, won't go out reservoir, or, you know, it'll all come out that way. And that, the pavement that's there existing now, we're gonna leave that intact until it's absolutely necessary to remove it for water lines or road grading or what have you. It'll act as a good control as far as any erosion or runoff or mud or anything like that. So the pavement, you know, we'll leave that in until it's absolutely necessary to remove it.
And is there, I guess, are you guys going to start, is the sequencing going to be kind of to start on the west side for removal and then move out closer, or do you have a general?
Well, the general idea is to strip and subgrade the road areas.
So that would be the first.
Yes, the proposed roads and driveways for, you know, and so that we can cut and fill them and start the utility work, water, sewer, and drain. So then the lots, the cutting of the lots or the furthest part will be secondary to that. You know, and then of course the ponds, you know, digging them, we have a large export of some of the ponds there. So we're going to basically start in the middle and work our way out as far as the removal. And what we'll basically do is have everything stockpiled on site and load out of the stockpile for the export. So there'll be quite a bit of work going on as far as removing the organics and generating the stockpiles before the trucking actually starts.
And there's the 3 locations, right, for the stockpiles? I think it
Yes,
looked like it was 3.
yes.
Because it seems like the west side is the only, I mean, as you kind of presented, is the only where there's neighbors kind of, which are far, but that would be, I guess, the area that would get the potential biggest impact where that basin is. And then you're saying they'd start with the street, which makes sense, the road, and then that would come a little later that they get to the basins.
Yes, yeah, as we work our way, you know, and we also need the road, so we have a nice level surface to have the trucks. You know, they are road trucks, so we're gonna have them driving on site, so we need to have something reasonable for them to drive on. So, you know, the cuts and fills of the road is critical to the rest of the operation.
Do you have a timetable too, then, generally, that, like, the start, when you're, I mean, if you got approval, when you guys would start?
We would certainly start after school was out. So I would say possibly the end of June, beginning of July.
Any questions?
Couple of questions. A basic question that I always ask is there, what is the reason that you just can't regrade the whole thing without removal of any of the material?
Well, that's based on the design for the grading. It's based on the grading plan, and what the engineers have designed dictates how much we either cut or fill. So
I might be able to touch on that.
Sure.
So as Dave is right. So as part of the design, what we tried to do is, you know, minimize the impacts to the abutters and the visual impacts to the abutters. So we didn't want to raise the site and have the houses or the townhomes sitting up high. So we kind of wanted to lower it a little bit. And, you know, by doing that, we needed to have the roadway system, you know, drain by gravity to the detention basin. So it was part of the overall design process of keeping the site low, essentially.
Okay. Second question on the removal. I heard 8 to 4, but what I'm assuming that would just be Monday through Friday and no weekends?
Right. So I believe the the conditions in the permit were from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 9 to 6 on Saturday. Certainly, we wouldn't be utilizing all of those hours for the hauling operations. So I believe Titan was planning on what it was 8 to 4 Monday through Saturday, I believe.
That's correct.
The Saturday, or if I was a neighbor, I would think that Saturday with people at home might be more of an issue, obviously, than during the week. Is there any way that we can either eliminate the Saturday or reduce the hours even more?
Reducing the hours isn't an option because the cost of trucks and what have you, and you're typically working on day rate.
Yeah.
As far as the Saturdays, we'd like to do them. If it's an issue, then obviously we won't do them on Saturdays, but just on the sheer volume of material we have and the duration, the Saturday, that additional workday will make a difference on what gets removed. It shortens the duration how long we'll be exporting it if we work the Saturdays.
Yeah, but it may be more of an imposition for the people that live around there, especially on weekends.
I understand.
So something to be considered. One more question. After all is completed, I would assume that you would, obviously Locust Street's going to take a beating. Would that be resurfaced as well as part of your program?
We haven't looked at that yet. We do have to do some resurfacing in front of the project. As part of the project, the entrance there, and that could be looked at depending upon the condition of the road. I mean, I wouldn't rule it out. I wouldn't rule it out.
Yeah, Locust Street is just almost like a country road, so probably going to take quite a beating with all those heavy trucks going over it. So again, something to be considered.
Yeah.
Question.
Yeah.
So the 6 to 10 trucks per hour, is that, how confident are you in those numbers?
In regards to what?
There was
Holding
a,
to those numbers?
no, how confident are you gonna hit? Is it gonna be, is it closer to 6 or is it more to 10 or is it?
Well, that has the variation because we to maintain that, we have to know the route of where they're going and what is the distance from the time they're loaded until they return back. So that would, based on that timing, that would determine how many trucks. For instance, we could say, and we did say 6 to 10 an hour, but we could actually have 15 or 20 trucks on because only 6 to 10 are coming in out of the job. It depends on the route, how far they're going with it. If they have like a 2-hour haul, and obviously, and we have 10 trucks in a 2-hour haul, well, after the first load, we're not going to have 10 trucks that following hour. So we kind of have to find out what the destination of the material is going to be, and just that's our barometer to start with. And then as we figure out where it's going, like if we were going in town, we know that 6 to 10 would work. Say we were going over to the Pine Hollow development, but we would know 6 to 10 would work. An hour, we'd have them. But if we're going, say, to, and it's kind of crazy to say this, but I'll throw it out there. If we were going to say Worcester, then those trucks would be gone for a minimum of 2 hours, maybe more. So that 6 to 10 an hour, you probably have to have 12 to 20 to keep that 6 to 10 on site. So right now, we put that out there because we don't, it's a starting point. We have to, for instance, first day of school, we get 10 trucks. We load them, they go, they come back. We see how many are cycling in that hour, and that gives us a better idea. Typically the first load in the morning is longer than the second load because of traffic and what have you. And then for whatever reason, that last load in the afternoon, which is usually around 2:30, that's another, the commute starts earlier than it used to. So to answer your question, it's kind of hard to zero in on that as far as being confident about the 6 to 10. I hope I explained that you see our position on that. We just don't know at this point until we get going.
So I guess then 2 points. If you do, let's say you do a maximum of 10 departures an hour, that's 80 trips out of the site. That would either be some number of 80, at the most, there would be 80 trucks on site, and I don't think that's really what's gonna happen. Or 40 and 2 trips back and forth. But those kinds of numbers, I don't think you would have 40 trucks, right? You would have, what?
No, we wouldn't. See, you have to look at this as loads versus trucks. I mean, when you're talking about, like, so it's like, how many loads an hour are gonna actually get loaded and get exported? And then what's the return run? And so, typically, if we were doing this job, say Monday, we would probably that first day have the 6 trucks just as a test to see what happens, and then we could gauge it from there. You never want to have more, or you don't want to have any waiting time. But then again, if you don't have enough trucks, it's not efficient to load it for the cost, especially with the cost of fuel these days. So it's we'll never have. I don't think we'll ever have more than 8 trucks on site at one time. I don't think that's possible. I mean, because they're going to be, once they're loaded, you might in the morning when you start, they'll go up to that first load, but once they leave, that condition doesn't exist anymore.
So, but that would be 8 trucks. That would be them doing 10 trips a day, which is unlikely that you would come close to the 80, right?
Yes, it is unlikely. Yeah.
So realistically, instead of 130 days, if 80 trips a day is not at all accurate or possible, then we're really looking at some number much greater than 130.
Yes, and if you consider weather and that stretches or extends that time period.
So why did you put forward 130 days, knowing it's not even remotely possible?
Well, it is possible. It
You
depends
told me it
on
wasn't.
it depends on the destination.
You're not going to get 80 trips. Your best day is never 80 loads. You just said that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So why would you put forward?
Depends on the location, though.
That's right. That's exactly.
Depends on the location. If it's close location, it's definitely that can happen.
You're going to have that many trips. You would have to deliver in Bellingham.
Right. That's why I used the Pine Hollow as a reference. That
Right.
if that's where we were going, that would work. That would be. I'm not saying that's where we're going, and the Eastland Partners has expressed some interest in the material, and they're in Bellingham, so that would bring us right there because they're right down the street. So that would make that whole thing work. And then again, if we were going to Worcester, that wouldn't work. So it's to put it in concrete right now. It's too soon in the process to really zero in on that.
So I'm wondering then, is it premature to have this discussion at all? In terms of, once you know more specifics, you have a better idea where the stuff is going and the actual number of trips and the actual number of days and the routes that the trucks are taking. Is it better to have that discussion when there's more specifics?
Well, no one site is going to take the total amount. So that amount, that estimate of trucks it's going to vary from site to site on how we work. So again, we really can't say with any certainty on how many trucks we will have and where they'll be going, because there's going to be different destinations where this fill goes. There may be times when no fill is leaving the site because we don't have a destination for it. So, and it's right now there is a lot of building going on, so there probably is places where that can go, but to say where right now, we really can't.
But with this, oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, with this amount though, which seems like a large amount, there's really no likelihood, it wouldn't be realistic that all of it would go to Bellingham, obviously.
No, it wouldn't.
So probably a smaller portion would go to Bellingham, I'd imagine, if it's this much removal.
Right, yeah, and again, we have some destinations in mind. We're talking to people But we don't have anything right now, because we can't guarantee anybody any material at this point in the process.
Until we get the approval from you guys, so.
So I think what would be helpful then is if there's places you have in mind that are likely candidates, do the math, do the travel time, do that, and let us know what that is. So because this doesn't sound like even remotely what it might be. And the volume of material that's coming out of this and the number of days, this is gonna stretch for over half a year, I would suspect. Because even at the best, the absolute best, everything's going to Bellingham, it's 130 days. So this is a big deal for these people in this neighborhood. So I think we do need to have, to the best you can, and I realize you don't have a crystal ball, to the best you can, we need something that's even a touch reliable, you know what I mean? Because these numbers don't, they're just not accurate.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, sorry, it's Ryan, logged in remotely.
Hey, Ray. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. Have you tested the soil already? Do you know when you're exporting all the material that it's all clean and it's going to be accepted? And another question would be, I know there's been kind of a limited disposal facilities nowadays, so I'd expect that you're going to send all your material to other sites that need the fill, but my understanding is, especially this year's, there's been quite the limit in disposal facilities. I don't know if that includes clean fill, but I know for disposal of anything that might have even slightly any contamination, there's been a really very few facilities accepting soil nowadays. So are you planning on just finding other projects that are happening at the same time that are going to ask for that material? And that's why you kind of don't know where it's going to go yet?
We have some ideas where it's going to go, but to answer your first question, it is a virgin site. There are no contaminants on it. It's mostly sand and organics, the plantable soil on there. So it's good. It's good, good clean fill. Some of it grades out as septic sand. Some of it isn't. So it's all good, clean fill. Not fill, it's actually sand and gravel is what it is, and it's very high quality.
So it's well graded and clean.
Yes, and the groundwater, the test pits attest to that because the water's at 26 feet. So there's it's all granular sharp material, and it's been in place since millennium. So it's but there are places that will take that material, you know, a lot of developments that, you know, it's well above just general fill. It's well above that.
Okay. And are you planning on having dust control? Do you have a dust control plan and a noise monitoring plan? Because I don't know are you going to be doing any rock excavation on the site?
Rock excavation?
Yeah, like if there's, you know, any bedrock, raised bedrock or anything.
Well, there'll be, at this point, there won't be any rock hammering or blasting.
Right.
We haven't uncovered any ledge or
Right.
boulders to this point. I'm not saying that may not be discovered or may, you know, I'm not saying that, but at this point, we don't anticipate doing any mechanized work on ledge or boulders.
But so,
Jim, we have to.
yeah, I was going to
We
say,
do have water and dust control.
What's that?
We have to vacate the premises for the next meeting.
should we motion for a?
Entertain a motion.
Before we do that, do you mind, we have one resident that was here. Do you mind if he could just give his concern?
Yeah, you could just
since
make
he's
it
been here,
as
is that
brief as
okay?
you can.
Is
That would be
okay?
great. Yeah, just your name.
Sure.
Yeah, just name and then.
Yeah. My name is Roger Poland. I live at 20 Locust Street. I bought 30 Locust Street. I've been here in town for 70 years. And I have water coming off hole 3 going into my swamp. Nobody, it is not no blueprint, nothing else. It's there. Now it rains a lot. All that water goes into my swamp. But on hole 5, which is the walking bridge I had down there, is blocking it. So my swamp is getting larger and larger and larger. And I just want somebody to take care of it. You got new people moving, taking over that property. Emil didn't tell me he had the pipe there. It was hidden. It's not on anybody's blueprint or nothing else. It just water off his hole 3. If you go by his golf course, you know where hole 3 is, and you know where hole 5 is. That's a footbridge that crosses that little pond underneath. Well, that pond drains from the big pond to a smaller pond, and it drains out to the I don't know what.
Have you discussed this with the Conservation Commission?
Yeah,
Are
they were
fully
down my
aware?
house.
Yes.
They told me to- They told me to. get-
They would definitely be the
So-
best.
Yeah, well, they told me to
Yes.
come here.
So
Well, yeah,
what's,
we gotta
yep, so
include it
the
in our-
resolution right now, the way it was explained to me from Ian, the conservation agent, and I
Right.
think she explained it to you as well, is that she spoke with Paul DeSimone, who works for the applicant, and he's gonna go and take a look at it.
He's
And
the civil engineer.
he's part of
Yes.
their team,
Okay.
and he will look at the situation and get back to us.
Well, he came down, I think she
So-
came down with a woman.
so we
and
have-
He said it was blocked,
Right,
the whole 5 was
Right.
blocked. You should be draining more than that, it's just trickling through.
so
And
what,
the swamp is getting larger, so it's
Right.
gonna be close to your project, it's getting bigger and bigger.
so what we'll do, Mr. Pullen, is we'll work with the applicant to figure out how to resolve your situation.
All right,
Okay, so we'll be in touch.
all right, thank you.
Motion
You
to
guys,
continue?
is May 5th work? Does May 5th work? That's our other evening.
Motion to continue. to
Okay.
May 5th.
Motion to continue to May 5th at 7:00.
Second.
Okay, very
All those in
good.
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you.
Thank you.